Hello friends, welcome back. Today I will continue my discussion in this session pertaining to emotions and moods. In the previous lecture we talked about the meaning, definition of emotions and some theoretical foundations to understand this term emotion. I will continue my discussion with some other models of emotional intelligence. In the previous discussion I just gave you a brief idea about what are the different models of emotional intelligence that are workable in organizations to identify, filter or scrutiny the emotional intelligence of employees and how they can get best fit into any kind of job. So, first of all I will start with the trait model of intelligence propounded by Konstantinos V. Petrides in the year 2001. He has proposed this model based on the constellation of emotional self perception which is located at the lower levels of personality. In other words, it means that even emotional intelligence or emotions is still a part of personality which is deep down rooted in every individual's behavioral aspect. So, in a layman terms, it refers to an individual's self perceptions of their emotional abilities. That means every individual understands that what is his emotional capability or efficiency or capacity to understand and control his own emotions. So, according to Konstantinos, emotional intelligence is part of an individual's personality which is deep down rooted. He has given 4 factors of this trait model and more importantly he has given the trait model. Trait means a permanent characteristics of an individual's personality which is distinctive, at the same time it is permanent in nature. So, these 4 models of trait model are well-being, sociability, emotionality and self-control, and how these factors have been defined in order to understand emotional intelligence. So, Konstantinos have talked about well-being which refers to quality of life and entails optimism, happiness and self-esteem. Now, here happiness again means it is related to the presence of positive or negative effect within an individual's day to day life. It is about optimism, it is about the positivity that a person perceives in every situation and then emotionally responds to that situation. And most importantly, quality of life. It is about to what extent an individual is able to control, have freedom, have liberty, have autonomy and mastery on his life in terms of different situations that an individual comes across, to what extent he is being accepted by the society or the community that affects his overall emotional level of an individual. And most importantly, self-esteem, it is regarding your self-regard or respect that a person garners through his decision making, through his functionality. The other is sociability. This entails emotional management of others' feelings, assertiveness and social awareness. Here social assertiveness means that voice his or her opinion in group or in community which not only reflects an individual's own wisdom, but also about to what extent the person cares about the surroundings. So, it is about effective communication skills where a person has capacity to convey or communicate his message. This is sociability. The other is emotionality. This refers to person's emotional reactivity to a stimulus and entails perception of emotions in self and others. In other words, this means that in any situation, whatever the stimulus has triggered the behavior, to what extent the person has the ability to control his emotions in that particular situation and is also able to understand the emotions of the other person and to what extent that situation can be controlled. This also entails emotional expression, empathy and capacity to establish and maintain relationships. Empathy to understand the other person's pain, grief or grievances and at the same time most importantly emotions. So, this is emotionality where based on empathy, based on understanding the emotions of others, the person is able to maintain and establish interpersonal relationship, that is sense of belongingness is being maintained. The other is self control. This is the executive function of self and entails emotional regulation, low impulsiveness and stress management. This is a most important aspect of emotional intelligence which talks about that how high or low levels of emotions can lead to stress and how controlling emotions will enable a person to maintain his stress levels. It is about low impulsiveness, which again means that the more the emotions are being controlled, more the person is able to understand his or her emotions as well as others, the more the person is less impulsive. There are less chances that the person will react to the situation, which actually leads to reduced stress levels. So, these are the 4 factors of trait EI model given by Konstantinos in terms of well-being, sociability, self-control and emotionality. Okay. The other is the mixed model of emotional intelligence given by Daniel Goleman. Initially, this was considered as interpersonal or intrapersonal intelligence given by Howard Gardner. Later on, Goleman overtook this concept and renamed it as emotional intelligence and published a book in 1988 and focused on a wide array of competencies and skills that drive leadership performance. So, this was the main implication of this concept of Goleman, that how emotional intelligence can drive to leadership performance, especially at workplaces. So, he has identified 5 factors of emotional intelligence. They are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy and social skill, where self-awareness means the ability to know one's emotions, strengths, weaknesses, drives, values, goals and recognize their impact on others while using gut feelings to guide decision making. It is solely about an individual's assessment about the level of emotions that a person has and how the person is using his strengths and weaknesses in decision making and how the decision making will impact others. The other is self-regulation. It is about controlling and modulating or redirecting one's own emotions, especially the destructive emotions that can lead to impulsiveness, and at the same time the person is able to adapt to the changing circumstances only, which is possible when the person is able to regulate his emotions. So, self-regulation is another factor of emotional intelligence given by Daniel Goleman. The other is motivation, that is being driven to achieve for the sake of achievement. It is about being emotional in a controlled manner that maintains the level of motivation and the person is able to achieve the goal. It is sometimes it happens the person is over excited, the person is over emotional and the person lacks that energy to meet that goal. So, under such circumstances, high level of motivation can be maintained when emotions are being controlled or regulated. The other is empathy. It is about considering other people's feelings, especially when decision making. This entails that the person is able to understand the impact or influence of decision on the others and what the others will feel. So, how it is going to impact not only in terms of finances, not only in terms of decision making or policy making or procedures implementation, it is about that how an individual, the employees of the organization will be influenced by that decision based on their emotions. That means, how they will feel when any decision is being implicated or imposed on the employees. And the last is social skill, which entails managing relationship to move people in the desired direction. It is about maintaining social assertiveness, it is about empathy, it is about interpersonal relationships in a way that the leader is able to understand what the team members need to be understood, how they should be understood, so that there is more sense of solidarity, there is more inclusiveness, there is more recognition of their presence and their performance and moving them in a single direction. That means, having or developing social skills in order to maintain team effectiveness or group effectiveness, this will enable any leader to understand emotions of the team members, how their emotions should be well regarded, so that every member is considered as inclusive, more recognized and there is more sense of belongingness and moving all together in one direction. So, this is one model of EI, which is one of the most famous model of emotional intelligence given by Daniel Goleman, which is very much focused on leadership performances. So, this model can help in generating emotional capital, that is set of personal and social competencies based on emotions. based on self-awareness, based on self-regulation, motivation, empathy and social skill. When all these factors are being considered all together, it will definitely lead to generation of emotional capital, and also it is useful for personal and professional development and utilize that capital in the process of social cohesion. Social cohesion here means more solidarity, more inclusiveness, more sense of belongingness and definitely more sense of relatedness. So, it is more about relatedness, it is more about inclusiveness. Based on this concept of Goleman's EI, 6 emotional leadership styles have been identified. They are visionary leaders, coaching leaders, affiliative leader, democratic leader, pace setting leader and commanding leader. Now, these 6 leadership styles based on emotional intelligence have identified 6 different situations where these leadership styles are best in those situations. For instance, visionary leader is best when new direction is needed. Coaching leader is best when the leader is building long term capabilities or skills or competencies among group members. Affiliative leadership is more appropriate under situations when the rifts or conflicts are being reconciled and they are getting through stressful situations. Democratic leadership is more appropriate when gaining inputs and approval of members, where there is more participation. Pace setting leadership is more appropriate when results from a motivated and competitive team is desirable. And the last is commanding leader, where crisis situations and unresponsive members are there and how to regulate the functionality of that group based on commanding leadership. Now, the point is that when all these 6 leadership styles have been identified based on 6 different situations, that which leadership is more appropriate in one particular situation, then what are those traits which are more functional or operational during that situation. So, when it is about visionary leader, the leader will motivate members to move forward and openly share information and may fail when motivating more experienced peers. If the leadership style is of a coaching style, then the leader connects with the organization goals and helps in identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the group members. There will be more delegation and which leads to loyalty and may look like micromanaging when done badly. So, here when the leader is focused on building capacities of the group members, he will also highlight the strengths and weaknesses. Now, all these situations will help the leader to understand the emotional aspects of every employee and then understanding the situation and molding them accordingly. Now, another example can be that the leader will create harmony within the organization because a conflict or rift has to be resolved. The leader is more collaborative and focus on emotional needs over work needs and may avoid emotionally distressing situations. That means, what negative stimulus in the environment can trigger some negative aspects of behavior, that is emotionally. The other is democratic leader. The leader will value members' input and participation and will lead to decision making. Now, leading to decision making means that maybe the leader in a particular situation can hand over the decision making authority on to the group members, or the leader can also increase the decision making latitude in order to make more decisions based on controlled emotions. Next comes pace setting leadership. This builds challenges and exciting goals for people expecting and showing excellence. They tend to be low on guidance and may lead to exhaustion and decline. Why? Because the results are very much demanding in nature through the leader. The members are supposed to be more competent and motivated, and then only the organizational outcomes are being achieved. And the last is commanding leader, where there is more exercise of power from the leader. The leader gives clear directives to the members for their job, and the leader is more commanding and expecting full compliance and may seem cold and distant. So, there is more power to the leader, and at the same time the leader will only understand emotional aspect of the employees when there is no crisis, and in order to overcome the crisis and the unresponsive members, the leader will be more open to provide directive to its members. Now, in all the 6 leadership styles, how the emotions of oneself, that is the leader, and of the members will be understood and controlled, that depends on every particular situation, and accordingly the leader will take that leadership style. This is the implication of Goleman's concept of emotional intelligence, where all the 5 factors are working all together, depending on the situation, that is self awareness, self regulation, motivation, empathy and social skill. The next is the bar on model of social and emotional intelligence. This is another model of emotional intelligence which has its different versions, which we take on in later moments. This model of social and emotional intelligence is not just a test, but a tool designed to assess and enhance emotionally and socially intelligent behaviors. Now, here emotionally and socially intelligent behaviors means people who are able to understand the situation, respond to the situation while controlling or regulating their emotions and then performing socially desirable behaviors. So, this model is a cross section of interrelated emotional and social competencies, skills and facilitators that determine how effectively we understand and express ourselves, understand others and relate them with them and cope with daily demands, challenges and pressures. So, this is more applicable in day to day life, because even at workplaces every now and then people or employees face some kind of challenges at work and how they respond to those challenges emotionally. So, this conceptualization includes the 5 key components that interact with each other. They are intrapersonal component, interpersonal component, stress management, adaptability and general mood. So, when we talk about interpersonal component, it is about self awareness and self expression. What it deals with? It deals with emotional awareness, assertiveness, independence, self regard and self actualization. Self regard means self esteem and self actualization is how the person can use his experiences, knowledge, skills and abilities to further his career or performance. This is about intrapersonal component. The other is interpersonal component. It is about towards the other person or society in terms of social awareness and interpersonal relationship. This entails empathy, that is understanding the other person's emotions, social responsibility, performing socially desirable behaviors, for example, citizenship behaviors where you are helping your employees to complete a task, you are more conscious about your job, you are indulging in the organizational politics for the development of the organization. And interpersonal relationships, it is about maintaining healthy relationships and develop sense of belongingness with the other members of the group. The other is stress management. It is about emotional management and regulation, that is stress tolerance and impulse control. The more we are able to control our reactions to any stressful situation, the more we develop tolerance to the stress, to any stressful situation. If it is opposite, the more impulsivity is high, then it becomes difficult for any person to tolerate any stressful stimulus in the environment. So, stress management means regulating one's emotions and managing their emotions in order to increase stress tolerance and decrease impulsiveness. Adaptability, that is about change management. It is about comprises reality testing, flexibility and problem solving. It is about more objectivity, finding more practical solutions to the problem as per the situation, and this is only possible when the person is able to understand the situation, regulate his emotions and finding the right solutions so that the situation can be controlled and right decision can be made. And the last is general mood in terms of self motivation. This includes happiness and optimism. There is more power to promote one's own self growth and finding more opportunities to grow further. So, these are the factors according to the Reuven-Baron model of social and emotional intelligence. So, it is about balancing the one's own emotional factor and the social factor. This is a balancing phenomena that when a person is able to balance inside, the person is successful in balancing the outside environment. So, it is about intrinsic and extrinsic factor that work all together. So, it is more about interpersonal relationships, it is more about intrapersonal component, stress management, adaptability and general mood. So, this is again, as I mentioned, that this bar on emotional quotient inventory has some more versions for different purposes. So, this is about the 360-degree bar on emotional quotient inventory, which is a multi-rater version of EQI. EQI means Emotional Intelligence Inventory trademark of Reuven-Baron model of social and emotional intelligence. So, this is a 360-degree multi-rater scale and it has 88 items in form of short sentences and employs a 5-point response format. and the raters responses are averaged to create the total EQ score and 15 scale scores. So, that means the scale, that is the EQ 360 degree, measures the following factors of emotional and social intelligence. They are self regard, emotional self awareness, assertiveness or emotional self expression, independence, empathy, social responsibility or interpersonal relationship, stress tolerance, impulse control, reality testing, flexibility, problem solving, self actualization, optimism, happiness and well-being. So, this 88 item scale measures these 15 scores or factors in order to assess the social and emotional intelligence of an individual. This is another version, that is youth version, the bar on emotional quotient inventory youth version. This is a self-report psychometric instrument designed to measure emotionally and socially intelligent behavior in children. Previously it was for adults, but this version is for children and adolescents from 7 to 17 years of age. So, it has 7 scales. In the total IQ score, it has interpersonal, stress management, adaptability, general mood and positive impression. So, it has 60 items to measure, and how the scale will measure these 7 dimensions of emotional intelligence among 7 to 17 years of age group of children and adolescents. So, the idea is that emotional intelligence is rigorously worked concept in organizational behavior as well and in the field of psychology, and it has its own implication in OB area where different aspects of human behavior or employee behavior can be measured, assessed and then finding the best fit between the employee and the organization, right. The other is the Schutte self-report emotional intelligence test. The scale is a method of measuring general emotional intelligence using 4 subscales: emotion perception, utilizing emotions, managing self-relevant emotions and managing others' emotions. So, this is about another scale which is a psychometric tool or test, and how these scales are being used to measure emotional level or intelligence of any individual. This is about the scales and different models of emotional intelligence that are being exercised in organizations to assess the emotional aspect of an individual's personality. We will continue in the next discussion. Thank you so much.